You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start with Cardinals Dodgers. We're not even going to talk about what happened last night. That never happened. That was just a really bad dream. No. I'm only kidding. The Yankees have had a ton of years in their history where they haven't made a lot of noise in the playoffs. I mean, that happens. You can't win every year. Certainly 2015, they didn't make a lot of noise. 2011, they didn't make a lot of noise. 05 to 07, they didn't make a lot of noise. 02, they didn't make a lot of noise. 97, they didn't make a lot of noise. It happens. But in terms of overall disappointment, I can't think of a year that's more disappointing than this one. This team, before the season, was supposed to be great. You've got Garrett Cole for a full season. You bring back LeMahieu. You trade for Tyon. You sign Kluber. The Rays traded Blake Snell. The Red Sox weren't world beaters. The Blue Jays arrived a year too early. The Orioles stink. This was supposed to be the Yankees' year. Before the season, the majority of World Series picks were Yankees-Dodgers. Maybe the Yankees weren't winning it, but they were winning the pennant. Something they haven't done since 2009. Then the season starts, and it's just up and down, peaks and valleys, highs and lows. The Yankees were probably the streakiest team in all of baseball. They clinch a playoff spot on the last day of the season. I was there. A base hit off the glove of Andrew Kittredge. A 1-0 Yankees victory. But you know what? You're in the playoffs. Anything can happen once you get there. You've got Garrett Cole on the mound. Yes, it's in Boston, but you've got to feel really good about your chances. Again, you've got your ace on the mound. This is why you signed him, for games like this. To beat the Red Sox and to get you in the ALDS. Yeah, you were going to lose to the Rays, but just get to the ALDS. That game yesterday was probably the most disappointing Yankees game I've seen in a long time. I mean, they've had games where they blew leads this year. God knows they have. But there's a difference between blowing a lead and looking woefully inept from the first pitch. The Yankees looked ill-prepared. It was just an incredibly inept performance. Who are the two biggest rivals that the Yankees have right now. The Red Sox and the Astros. Starting on Game 4 of the 2004 ALCS, the Red Sox have won 8 of the last 9 postseason games against the Bombers. In that same time period, the Astros have won 9 of 14 postseason games against the Yankees. This team that once prided itself on the notion that anything less than a World Series win was a disappointment is now content with mediocrity. They are content with just making the playoffs, and then that's it. Anything else that happens is gravy. Forget a World Series, forget a pennant. The Yankees don't care anymore. These aren't even the Yankees anymore. They're a cheap imitation. This team that used to do whatever it took to win is now pinching pennies, is getting outplayed by a team with a fraction of their payroll in the Tampa Bay Rays. A team that hasn't won the pennant in 12 years, and they don't care. You can't tell me that Hal Steinbrenner cares. Hal Steinbrenner is nothing short of an embarrassment to his last name. His father is rolling over in his grave. We have to stay below the luxury tax. George would pay the luxury tax every year if it meant a World Series. George wouldn't stand for a whole decade of not making a World Series. The first time in 100 years that's happened. George wouldn't stand to losing to your 2 biggest rivals every freaking year in the playoffs. Here's how bad it's gotten for the Yankees. Since 2012, the Yankees have been eliminated by 3 teams in the playoffs. The Red Sox, the Astros, and the Rays. Red Sox, biggest rivals the Yankees have. The Astros, a very close second. The Rays, a team that the Yankees could buy and have enough money left over to buy an NHL team. What's the greatest George Steinbrenner quote? Winning is the most important thing in my life, second to breathing. Breathing's first, winning's second. Been a long time since the Yankees have won. 2009's a distant memory. 12 years is an eternity in the Bronx. Maybe it's not for other teams, but the Yankees are held to a higher standard. And if you can't appreciate that, shame on you. The reality is, the culture around the Yankees is toxic. There is no other word for it. It's like Chernobyl. From the top down, it needs to be changed. You can probably count on one hand the number of guys who deserve to be back next year. Besides Judge and Stanton, do any hitters really deserve to come back? I'm not saying will they come back. I'm saying, do they deserve to come back? You can't tell me that Rizzo deserves to come back. I'm sorry, he doesn't. The guy at 249 is a Yankee. I like Rizzo, but you can do better than him. LeMahieu was a shell of his former self. Do you want to try the Torres experiment again? Does Urshela come back? This offseason coming up may be One of the most important in Yankees history. There are a million different directions it can go in. I said I'd give you the off-season preview on Friday. That's not enough time. I mean, I'll do it. It can be done, but wow. Truth be told, I didn't think I'd be giving it to you on Friday. I really thought the Yankees would win. I really thought that the Yankees would win yesterday. Come on, the ace on the mound? The $320 million man? The reason that you signed a guy like Cole was for a day just like yesterday. Boy, I thought the Yankees would win. Boy, I thought their bats would show up. Oh my God, was I wrong. You know, watching that game, was I upset? The answer is yes, but I was more depressed than anything else. What a joke that game was. The pitching was inept. The hitting was inept. The coaching was inept. The whole freaking team is inept. I'm telling you, there are a million different directions the Yankees can go in to change things up. And they need to change things up radically. Take a look at that starting lineup from yesterday's game. There is a real chance that you see 7 new faces compared to that starting lineup from yesterday. And that's not change for the sake of change. This is a Yankees team that hasn't won a pennant in 12 years. If that doesn't warrant change, I don't know what does. Do you want it to extend to 15, 20, 25? Enough is enough. The New York Yankees had, realistically, a dynamite core in 2017. 2017 was probably the best year in Yankees history since '09. The Baby Bombers show up ahead of schedule, and they lead the Yankees to the ALCS. Gary Sanchez looks like the second coming of Yogi Berra. Aaron Judge looks like the second coming of Babe Ruth. Didi Gregorius looks like a great replacement for Jeter. Luis Severino's turning into an ace. Jordan Montgomery looks really good. This team is going to be dominant for the next decade. The Yankees are back. Since then, the Yankees have done literally everything wrong. Can you tell me one big move they've made since Game 7 of the 2017 ALCS that's worked, with the exception of the Stanton trade? Letting Girardi walk and bringing in Aaron Boone has to rank in Yankees history as one of the worst decisions ever. I may need to revise decades of dumbass decisions. I mean, I had this thought yesterday. It literally hit me like a ton of bricks when Buster Olney was talking to Bucky Dent. Dent and Boone became Yankees manager primarily because they hit big home runs against the Red Sox. Dent doesn't get that job if he doesn't hit the home run off Torres. And Boone doesn't get the job if he doesn't hit the home run off Wakefield. Okay, that's just fact. Bucky Dent was not a good manager. I understand that he only managed 89 games, but you've got to do better than 36 and 53. That's not going to work for me. Aaron Boone in his 4 years as Yankees manager, hasn't even won a pennant. Think about the great managers in Yankees history. Joe Torre won a World Series his first year here. Casey Stengel won 5 straight World Series his first 5 years here. Joe McCarthy won a World Series his second year here. Miller Huggins, by his 4th year, had the Yankees in the World Series. I mean, it's a joke. Aaron Boone deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as guys like Johnny Keane, Stump Merrill, and Bill Verdon. Worst managers in Yankees history. The fact that the Yankees let him go back to New York as Yankees manager ticks me off to no end. He should have been fired right after the game. And Cashman too. I'm done with Cashman. I'm done with both these idiots. For God's sake. This guy only assembled 1 World Series winner. I understand he was GM for 98, 99, and 2000. And he was there for 96. But 96 to 2000 were Bob Watson's teams. They just were. 2009 was Cashman's team. That's it! That's the only World Series winning team that Brian Cashman has. This guy's been GM of the Yankees for over 20 years. And he's only put together 1 World Series winning team by himself? Oh my Lanta, the guy's a buffoon. The guy is nothing short of a buffoon. Who looks at Aaron Boone and says that's an improvement over Joe Girardi? Who looks at Joey Gallo and says that's the guy that's going to get us over the hump? Who looks at Aaron Hicks and says that guy's worth a 7-year contract? From the top down, this team needs to be changed. If it's not, and firing Boone isn't enough, or letting Boone walk, however you want to phrase it, because Boone is technically a free agent right now. Letting him walk isn't enough. Brian Cashman needs to go. This guy is too beholden to analytics. He has proven incapable of putting a World Series winner together. We don't think of him this way, but he's a future Hall of Famer. He is. And he will get a plaque in Monument Park. It'll take a while, but he'll get there. But there needs to be a change now. You have one of the best players in baseball in Aaron Judge. A perennial MVP candidate, a future captain, a superstar, a guy who's going to get a Mike Trout type contract at some point. If Brian Cashman stays, Aaron Boone runs the risk of not being mentioned in the same breath as guys like Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle, and Jeter, but being mentioned in the same breath as guys like Don Mattingly and Mel Stottlemyre and Dave Winfield. Really, really good players, but just couldn't win a World Series with the Yankees. You can't tell me that's not a real possibility. Aaron Judge going his entire career without winning a World Series. At this rate, he's not even going to make a World Series. Part of being a great Yankee is winning. Think about the best players in Yankees history. Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, Jeter, DiMaggio, Ford, Berra, Rivera, Pettit, Ruffing, Gomez, Williams, Posada, Dickey, Rizzuto, Martin, etc., etc. Those guys won World Series. In order to be a great Yankee, you need to win. Right now, Aaron Judge isn't in the top tier. He's in the second tier. And it seems like he's going to stay there. The only way that the Yankees will contend in the near future is if they blow everything up. Fire Cashman. Get rid of Boone. Get rid of half this roster. Go on a spending spree. Trade prospects. I want to go all in next offseason. We tried it the different way. It didn't work. The last time the Yankees won was 2009. Think about what the Yankees did that helped get them the World Series. They went out and signed probably the 3 biggest free agents available in CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Mark Teixeira. They traded for Nick Swisher. They traded for Jerry Hairston Jr. They traded for Eric Hinsky. Go back to that approach. That approach worked. Everything else has failed. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's what the Yankees are doing. There need to be major changes. Cashman, gone. Boone, gone. Half the roster, gone. To Hal Steinbrenner, I'm talking to you directly. Live up to your last name. Show that losing is unacceptable to you, just like it was for your father. Show that you'll do whatever it takes to win. Bring in people who know how to run a baseball team. Get rid of this analytics garbage. Anyone who tells you that Joey Gallo is the missing piece for the New York Yankees clearly doesn't know baseball. Make major changes. I'll get into the specifics on Friday, partially because I don't know what these specifics are yet. I've got to do a ton of work ahead of Friday. But I can talk about the game that we saw yesterday. Garrett Cole is my favorite Yankee. I love him. I believe that he understands what it means to be a Yankee. And I do think he should win the Cy Young Award this year. I think he is the best pitcher in baseball, but you cannot have a performance like that yesterday. That is just an inexcusable performance. I don't care if Garrett Cole wins 5 World Series as a Yankee. That performance yesterday is going to be a part of his legacy for time immemorial. Mariano Rivera blowing the lead in Game 4 of the 04 ALCS is part of his legacy. He's the greatest reliever in baseball history. But 04 still sticks out like a sore thumb. As great as Cole is, he has moments where you want him to be an ace. And he just doesn't do it. The game on July 4th against the Mets, he got shellacked. The game against the Rays in Tampa at the end of July, he got shellacked. Against the Indians a couple weeks ago, he got shellacked. Against the Blue Jays, he got shellacked. Those were games that Gerrit Cole really needed to step up. There are some starts that are more important than others. And Cole failed in those games, and he failed yesterday. Going 2 innings and giving up 3 runs, needing the bullpen to get 21 outs. Oh my gosh! Thank God for Clay Holmes. At least the Yankees had a pulse. I mean, by the time the dust settled from Cole's terrible outing, the Yankees were only down 3-0. They're in the top of the 4th inning at this point. A 3-run lead with 6 innings of baseball left to play at Fenway Park is not insurmountable. This vaunted Yankees lineup with Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, Gallo, Torres, Urshela, etc., should be expected to get 4 runs, right? That was, without question, the worst offensive performance I've seen the Yankees have. What's the one thing I said the Yankees needed to do? Get traffic on the base paths, force long at-bats, get into the Red Sox bullpen. What did they not do? That. Nathan Eovaldi threw 5 1/3 innings. Threw only 71 pitches. That's about 15 pitches per inning. That is atrocious. The Red Sox have a bad bullpen. If you force Cora to go into it early, you've got a great chance of winning this game. Instead, you made it so the Boston bullpen only needed to get 11 outs. A-Rod spoke about this on the broadcast. The Yankees are great at drawing walks, making pitchers work. That was their strength all year. What did they not do? What worked for them all season? What did the Red Sox do? What I said they needed to do. I said if you're going to get to Cole, get to him early. If you're going to get to a great pitcher, you got to do it early. Believe it or not, I actually know a little bit about sports. But you know what? In the 6th inning, it looked like the Yankees had something cooking. Anthony Rizzo hits a home run by the pesky pole. Aaron Judge gets a single. You've got Giancarlo Stanton at bat. You're only down 3-1 at this point. And Alex Cora makes the right decision to go to the bullpen. You can't blame Cora for pulling Eovaldi, but like I said, that's a leaky bullpen. Ryan Brazier's a good pitcher, but he only pitched in 13 games this year. So you're still feeling really good about your chances. Giancarlo Stanton hits a ball off the Green Monster. I see it land in center field, and I'm thinking, great. At worst, runners on the corners. At best, runners at second and third, one man out. This is it. You can get back into this game right here. Then I see the ball go home. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Judge just drew the throw. Stanton's going to go to second. Great job by Judge. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd see Judge be sent there. What on earth was Phil Nevin doing? Phil, it's Aaron Judge. It's not Tyler Wade. It's not Greg Allen. It's not Ricky Henderson. Judge has good speed, but he's not Lou Brock. The guy was out by a mile. Talk about a rally killer. You could have had runners on the corners, one man out. Instead, you had a runner at second, a slow one at that, in Giancarlo Stanton, and two men out. You knew right then and there that the Yankees were losing this game. That was their moment to get back into the game. And they squandered it. Aaron Boone is a terrible manager. There's no question about that, but Phil Nevin made the worst coaching decision of the Yankees season by sending Aaron Judge there. I didn't like Rob Thompson as a third base coach. I thought he was too aggressive. He's nothing compared to Nevin. Nevin is useless. Nevin needs to go along with Boone. The whole coaching staff needs to go. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm glad I didn't go, because that would have been a really tough drive home from Boston. But I would have left after the 2 RBI single by Verdugo. Of course, Chad Green gives it up. Chad Green is a terrible pitcher. He needs to go. It's just amazing how many really bad players are on this team. It's amazing how many players are on this team that don't deserve to wear those pinstripes. It used to be a privilege to put on a Yankees jersey. Now any idiot can do it. No, after the 2 RBI single by Verdugo, I would have left. It would have been 6-1 at that point. The Yankees were down to their last 6 outs. You knew they weren't going to come back. I would have had a long drive ahead of me. I would have left after the Verdugo 2 RBI double. I mean, I've got to give the Devil his due. Congratulations to the Red Sox. They were the better team from the jump yesterday. They've got their hands full with the Rays. I think the Rays are going to win. In fact, I'm going to be rooting for them in that series. But give the Red Sox credit. Alex Cora is the perfect manager for that team. See, this is what happens when you let a manager actually manage. I've never heard anyone say that Chaim Bloom micromanages Alex Cora. Brian Cashman micromanages Aaron Boone. Boone said something yesterday that was probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard him say. And I've heard him say a lot of stupid things. He said that the league has closed the gap on the Yankees. It's not that they've closed the gap. You're not even in the same universe as them. The Rays, the Red Sox, the Astros, the Brewers, the Giants, the Dodgers, they're all miles better than the Yankees. What a joke. What an embarrassment. From the top down, this team needs a change. I'll get into more specifics on Friday night for the Yankees offseason preview. But now it's time to preview the other wildcard game, Cardinals-Dodgers. This is a battle of two veterans. You've got a future Hall of Famer in Max Scherzer going up against a guy in Wainwright who will get votes. I don't think he'll get into the Hall of Fame, but he'll get votes, especially from the St. Louis voters. Really, really intriguing matchup. A very easy pitching matchup to get behind. Wainwright primarily throws 3 pitches, a curveball, a sinker, and a cutter. He likes to really attack hitters. Sometimes you'll see him paint, especially with the curveball and the cutter. He'll get righties flailing on outside pitches. But more often than not, it's his fastball and his changeup that he likes to throw outside the zone and try to get hitters to chase. Those are pitches that run outside to lefties. I mean, Wainwright had a really good year this year, went 17-7 with a 3.05 ERA, by far and away the best year he's had since 2014, his last All-Star season, a season where he finished 3rd in NL Cy Young voting and 8th in NL MVP voting. He just signed a 1-year extension with the Cardinals for $17.5 million. So you gotta think he'll be motivated to prove the Cardinals right. Wainwright doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's gonna just mail it in now that he has guaranteed money. He's never done that before. That was a good move to bring Wainwright back for 1 more year. Him and Molina can retire together, get their numbers retired together. Yadier's a future Hall of Famer. Wainwright, I don't think so. On the flip side of the coin is Max Scherzer. Predominantly a fastball pitcher. He's a guy who will throw his fastball wherever he wants it. His location skills are second to none. That's what makes him so great. Let this be a lesson to young pitchers. It's not enough to throw 100 miles per hour. And Scherzer's not even a power pitcher. He's a guy who will hit like 95 if he's lucky. It's the ability to put the ball exactly where you want it that makes you successful. And Scherzer does that incredibly well. Does he have off-speed pitches? Of course he does. He has a slider that he likes to throw down and away to righties. Against lefties, you'll see a changeup, cutter, or curveball. The cutter he likes to throw inside on lefties. The changeup he likes to bury, and the curveball he'll throw low and outside. If that curveball hangs, though, that's something that lefties can do damage against. The changeup, too. But all in all, I don't see how the Dodgers lose this game. It's in LA. The Dodgers are by far and away the better team. They've been arguably the second best team in baseball all year. I do think we're going to get a Giants-Dodgers NLDS. That's basically the World Series. That's going to be must-see TV. Give me the Dodgers. There is another piece of MLB news to tell you about. It's the Nationals signing Alcides Escobar to a 1-year deal worth $1 million. Escobar didn't play at all in 2019 or 2020. But last year for the Nationals, he was really good. He was their starting shortstop after Trey Turner was traded to the Dodgers. In 75 games, he hit .288 with 4 homers and 28 RBIs. You can have him as your starting shortstop next year. That's perfectly fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever. $1 million for him is an absolute steal. I thought for sure he'd get more. Like even $5 million I would have been okay with. I like Escobar. He's been a good player all throughout his career, very durable, good fielder, can play short and second. This move makes a ton of sense for the Nationals. Alright, now I'll give you some NFL Valk talk. And I'll start with the Cowboys cutting Jalen Smith. An absolute stunner. Look, I understand that Jalen Smith was a backup for the Cowboys on a huge contract. But now you've got to eat a ton of dead cap. And not for nothing, but this guy is a good player. Cutting Smith saves the Cowboys nothing this year. Literally nothing. They are still on the hook for $9.8 million. Next year, the Cowboys will save $5 million. Okay, that's all well and good, but Jalen Smith is a good player. This year, according to Pro Football Focus, he has a 69.5 overall grade. I mean, he's good. He's a really good player. I was surprised that no one wanted to trade for him. I'll take him on the Jets. He's better than Jamin Sherwood. He'd give you really good linebacker depth. Like, Jalen Smith is a really good player. I understand that the Cowboys wanted to give playing time to Jabril Cox. Totally get that. I like him. Shouldn't have fallen to the 4th round. He's a good player, okay? Totally get that. But Jalen Smith is very talented. He will land on his feet. I promise you that. I understand the Cowboys wanting to get a little bit younger. I can't begrudge them for that. But cutting Smith now doesn't make a ton of sense. It's hard for me to really endorse this move. I get the logic, but I'm not crazy about it. Moving on now to Matt Nagy naming Justin Fields his starting quarterback for the rest of this season. And obviously, this is what everyone wanted. No one wants to see Andy Dalton play quarterback. He's not that exciting. You know what you're going to get from him. So let's see the new toy. Let's see the first rounder, the guy who you traded up for, the consensus third best quarterback in the draft. I mean, I had defended Nagy in not naming Fields the starting quarterback. I don't think he really set the world on fire. And yeah, Dalton didn't look great, but he certainly looked better than Fields. There's no question about that. I mean, I understand trying to be patient. The worst thing you can do with a rookie quarterback is put him in before he's ready. And Fields really hasn't looked 100% ready. Then again, neither is Wilson and neither is Lawrence. Neither is Jones, neither is Lance. The best thing that rookie quarterbacks do is become second-year quarterbacks. But I'll say this. Once you start a rookie quarterback, even if it's because of an injury to the incumbent starter, it's very difficult to put that rookie back on the bench. I mean, if it's a day 2 or 3 rookie, it's a little easier. But for the 11th overall pick, a guy who you gave up 2 firsts, a 4th, and a 5th for, it's next to impossible. You heard all the calls for Nagy to start Fields over Dalton. I think I was one of the only people on earth to agree with Nagy that being patient was better. But again, it's very difficult once you break that seal on the rookie quarterback to put him back on the bench. The fans want to see the new toy. The players want to play with the new toy. It's exciting to have a rookie quarterback. I mean, I'll say this. Now the burden is on Nagy to make this guy look like the second coming of Sid Luckman. Because Fields really hasn't looked good so far. The Bears' offense has really struggled. But they are 2-2. I like Nagy. I think he's a good coach. But the burden is on him to make Fields look good. If he doesn't, the Bears are going to be looking for a new coach soon. Moving on now to the Patriots, trading Stephon Gilmore to the Panthers in exchange for a 6th rounder in 2023. And not for nothing, but you take a look at the Panthers cornerback group, it's actually pretty exciting. You've got Stephon Gilmore, C.J. Henderson, and A.J. Boye, along with a 5th-round rookie in Keith Taylor. Give Matt Rule credit for addressing a big weakness on his team very quickly. He traded for C.J. Henderson not that long ago. Now he's bringing in Gilmore, a guy who once upon a time was one of the better corners in the NFL. That makes a ton of sense. I understand that Gilmore hasn't played at all this year, but last year he had a 61 overall grade according to Pro Football Focus. Not that good, but not terrible. The year before that, he had an 82.8 overall grade. This guy was a beast. Giving up just a 6th rounder makes a ton of sense. It's worth the gamble. Great job by Matt Rule. The Panthers easily win this trade. What's not to like about it? You're taking a chance on a guy who's shown that he can play in this league, He addresses a big position of need, and all you gave up was a 6th rounder. In not even this coming draft, but the draft after. Outstanding job by Rule, Scott Fitterer, and the entire Panthers organization. Except Sam Darnold, because I don't like him. I'll close this show out by eulogizing a very important figure in baseball history. That, of course, is Eddie Robinson, whose death on Monday was announced yesterday. He died at the age of 100. He was the oldest living baseball player at the time of his death. Now that honor belongs to George Elder, who played in 41 games for the 1949 St. Louis Browns. Eddie Robinson accomplished basically everything you could hope to accomplish in baseball. He was a really good first baseman, was a general manager, spent the majority of his life around the game, just accomplished everything you could want to accomplish pertaining to America's pastime. Robinson's first taste of big league ball came in 1942, but he didn't play again until 1946. He enlisted in the Navy after the 42 season, and because of that, he missed 3 of his better years. So it did take him a while to really find his stride in life, but by 1948, he showed that he could play in the majors. As the Indians' starting first baseman, he hit .254 with 16 home runs and 83 RBIs. The Indians beat the Boston Braves in the World Series that year in 6 games. Robinson hit .300 in that World Series. In the ensuing offseason, in a blockbuster trade, make no mistake about it, this was a blockbuster. The Indians traded Robinson, Joe Haynes, and Ed Kleiman to the Senators for Mickey Vernon and Early Wynn. That was a huge trade. And with the Senators, Robinson made his first All-Star team. He had .294 with 18 home runs and 78 RBIs. It looked like he would take over for Vernon as the Senators' first baseman for the foreseeable future. But it wasn't meant to be. In a weird twist of fate, Robinson struggled with the Senators in 1950. He was traded to the White Sox, where he really found his groove. He had .314 with 20 home runs and 73 RBIs. A few weeks after that trade, the Indians traded back for Mickey Vernon. They traded Dick Wyke for him. So just to recap, the Senators traded for Robinson. They anointed him as the successor to Mickey Vernon, who was a really good first baseman. won a batting title, was a 2-time All-Star at the time. Then they cut bait on him after about a year and a half, and they brought back the guy who got replaced. You gotta love it. With the White Sox, Robinson had his best seasons. He'd spend 2 full seasons on the south side of Chicago. He was an all-star both years. In late January of 1953, Robinson was traded to the Philadelphia Athletics. Robinson made his last all-star team as an Athletic. He hit .247 with 22 home runs and 102 RBIs. Then he found himself as part of the Athletics Yankees pipeline. Except instead of the Yankees getting a young player, they got an older player. Robinson, when he got to the Yankees in 1954, was 33 years old. Look, he had just made an all-star team. There was no doubt that he could still play. He was brought in to be a backup first baseman / pinch hitter for Joe Collins. Robinson played well his first year with the Yankees. He hit .261 with 3 home runs and 27 RBIs. The year after that, the Yankees did have a new starting first baseman. It wasn't Robinson, though. It was Moose Skowron. So while Skowron was starting a really good career, Robinson hit just .208 with 16 home runs and 42 RBIs. By the time 56 rolled around, Robinson was really a shell of his former self. He was just a backup first baseman / pinch hitter at that point and wasn't really a good one. He finished his career hitting .268 with 172 home runs and 723 RBIs. He spent 13 years in the big leagues. He was a 4-time All-Star. And he did win a World Series in '48. He wasn't done with baseball, though. He did work his way through the front office to become Atlanta Braves GM. In 1972, he lasted in that role through the '76 season. He was not a good GM for the Braves, but he got another chance at being an MLB GM. In 1978, the Texas Rangers gave him a chance. And Robinson was good in that role. The Rangers posted winning seasons in '78, '79, and '81. But in '82, they were absolutely dreadful. Don Zimmer was fired mid-season. He was replaced by Darryl Johnson. Funnily enough, in 1976 for the Red Sox, Darryl Johnson started the year in Boston, but he was replaced by Zimmer mid-season. In '82 for the Rangers, the roles were reversed. Zimmer started the year as Rangers manager, but he was replaced by Johnson. A lot of serendipity in Eddie Robinson's career. But Eddie Robinson had a career that anyone would be proud of. He was the oldest living baseball player for almost 2 years. And I'll say this. it was kind of good that the answer to the question, who's the oldest living baseball player, was also the answer to the question, who's the oldest living good former baseball player. All due respect to George Elder, you can't play just 41 games in your career and be considered good. The answer to that question now is Bobby Shantz. May Eddie Robinson rest in peace. Until tomorrow, I'm Jacob Valk, and always remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong.